Roots of Love. In the quiet outskirts of Lagos, not far from the bustle of the expressway, where the land stretches wide and green, lived a couple whose story had quietly inspired everyone around them. Their names were Obinna and Zawadi. They were both farmers, agriculturists by profession and by passion. Obinna was a strong man, even though he hadn't walked since he was a teenager. A rare illness had weakened both his legs, and ever since he had moved with the help of a handmade wooden hammock walker, carefully crafted to support his upper body strength. But Obinna was never one to sit still. His hands were calloused from years of planting, weeding, and harvesting. His mind was sharp. He could look at a patch of dry soil and tell you exactly what crop would grow best. Zawadi, his wife, had only one good hand. A childhood injury had left her right arm partially paralyzed. But if you ever watched her till the soil or harvest cassava, you'd never believe it. She moved like the earth knew her, respected her, even danced for her. Together they owned 2 acres of farmland on the edge of the city, where they grew maize, vegetables, and sometimes experimented with mushrooms and tomatoes. They were partners in every sense of the word. Zawadi would wake up before dawn, sweep the compound, prepare tea, then help Obinna into his walker. On longer walks, she'd carry him on her back. Yes, carry her full-grown husband with love and strength, through the bush paths until they reached the field. When they arrived, you'd see them like this: Obinna sitting on a wooden stool using a hand hoe to tend the soil, Zawadi beside him bending with grace, her left hand moving swiftly through rows of crops. But what really caught people's attention was their car. Obinna had saved for 5 years to get a small second-hand car. Then he modified it, added hand controls so he could drive without needing his legs. He named it Chari of Grace. It wasn't just a car, it was freedom. It allowed them to deliver vegetables to restaurants across Lagos, attend farmers' conferences, and even visit schools to teach students about agriculture and resilience. They didn't ask for help, they offered it. They trained young people, especially those living with disabilities, showing them how to start home gardens and earn from the land. They proved that you didn't need perfect limbs to plant a seed, water it, and watch it grow. Of course, there were hard days. Days when the rains flooded their farm. Days when Obinna's arms gave out from exhaustion and Zawadi had to push both their produce and her husband in a wheelbarrow. Days when money was tight and the markets were slow. But never once did they say they had failed. One day, a reporter from a local agricultural magazine came to visit and asked Zawadi, "How do you do it? How do you carry your husband on your back and still find strength to farm?" She smiled gently and replied, "He carries my heart. I only carry his body." That quote went viral. People across the country came to know their names, not as a disabled couple, but as warriors of love and labor, planting seeds not just in the ground, but in people's spirits. Years passed, and their farm became a training center for sustainable agriculture. They employed other people living with disabilities, offering them dignity, income, and hope. One evening under a mango tree near their home, Obinna looked at Zawadi and said, "I used to think my legs were what gave me direction, but you've been my way, my strength, every step." Zawadi leaned into him, rested her head on his shoulder, and replied, "And you, my love, have taught me that growth doesn't only happen in soil, it happens in the soul." Moral: this is not a story about disability. It is a story about possibility. About 2 people who refused to be defined by what they lacked and chose instead to be known by what they gave. Through soil, sweat, and sacrifice, they grew something greater than crops. They grew a legacy of love.